primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core. World. News.
You may fire when ready.
From the dark, from the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your whole news show of in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Now, for your news segment rundown for February 9th, 2023. 99 problems, but a bad batch ain't one. Now we go live to the CW newsroom to join your hosts, Ben, Grant, and Adam, talk about the latest Star Wars news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex. It's great to be here for another edition of Core World News. So excited. Here we are. It's good to see you. We are streaming again, and again, we told no one. So if you're watching us, chime in. It'll be fun to hear from you. Jason, we're talking to you.
Yeah, Jason's here. Before we start the news, I want to go back for a second because now I'm nervous that Grex is a Sith Lord because it sounded like he started saying from the dark side. I think he was saying from the dark side. I'm scared now.
The dark side live.
Yeah, I know.
On our stream.
Yeah.
We'd bring
for
him.
everyone who's just tuning in now, you missed a wonderful sight to behold, which was our own news anchor just turning full on to the dark side. I think he's really felt the corruption of
fallen.
And the spread of the empire and its dark side intentions. So this is gonna be a fun pod, guys. Grex is unhinged.
That's right.
We're gonna delve.
He got out of
deep
here
into
pretty quick.
the empire. We're gonna go to Coruscant. We're gonna return. We're gonna talk about 2 great episodes of Bad Batch, but first we have some fun news, right, Ben?
We do have a little news. We got a little nugget here. A new novel, new Star Wars novel, which I'm always excited about, especially from this author. We've got Crimson Climb by E.K. Johnston. Really excited about her. She did all of the Queen series. With Amidala, which was fantastic, and now she's
they were such
Kira.
Good books, underrated in terms of Star Wars books. I would say, like I talked to a lot of Star Wars readers, and I don't think they jumped on that series, and we covered it on this podcast. And some of the best political galas, you get some of the best Palpatine writing, you get some of the best internal dialogue with Amidala and the handmaids, and it's just like it's an incredible piece. The entire trilogy is an incredible piece of work. It
is, and we see it kind of reverberating in the Darth Vader comic series right now, which once that arc ends, we'll cover. But like the Handmaidens, like I think she did such a good job of kind of telling us who they are, giving them separate personalities, but really making them kind of badasses, which I appreciate. And my wife's biggest complaint about the prequel trilogy is the treatment of Amidala, especially in the third, or not even the treatment, but like the lack of treatment of Amidala, especially in the third movie. And I'm like, I have no defense of that, and I'm just like, but just read these books. Just read these books. I think you'll really like them, and it might give you a little more perspective on who Amidala is.
That's like the Matt Stover books sort of helped me with Hayden's character when they came out, when they did the novelization of Return of the Sith, which is liked by many and definitely worth a read, even though it's just legends at this point. And then Dark...
Is Dark Disciple?
No, what's it called? There was a sequel to it, and it was, I think it got retconned by the comic series, like Sewell's comic series about Darth Vader, but not really. It was like literally like the second after he put the suit on is where the novel I'm killing.
Yeah, Dark Lords of the Sith, is that the second? Is that one of the first canon novels, I believe?
Yeah, that's not it. It was this was one that came
it.
out after I think because that novelization was so successful, they're like, keep going. I think it was called Lord of the Sith. If only I had infinite knowledge at my fingertips. Anywho,
right. But bottom line is, if you feel like Amidala, there was a severe loss of agency for Amidala in the films, you will love the E.K. Johnston books because it puts her front and center and actually gives you so much more story that is sort of, alluded to in the films, in the prequels, but you don't get that relationship with the Handmaidens. You don't get the sort of political maneuverings and things like that she was up to. And so it's just so great to read those books if you haven't.
I've got a summary here, publisher summary, if you want to hear it.
Yeah. Is this for Crimson Climb?
For Crimson
the
Climb,
new
yeah,
book?
for the upcoming
Great.
book. So this book's going to be released, or is scheduled to be released October 10th, 23. So we got a ways to go, even though it'll probably feel like a blink of an eye. This is Kira listened to the dreams and promises of a boy with a reckless smile, only to be torn away from him and return to the White Worms gang, while Han made his way to freedom. Now freedom seems like a luxury she can't afford, while she concentrates on survival and despairs of ever leaving Corellia. Sorry, I'm tuning my volumes right now while this is happening. But her fortunes seem to turn when a representative of the crime syndicate Crimson Dawn plucks Kira from captivity and brings her to the syndicate leader, the mysterious and mercurial Dryden Voss. Voss offers Kira an opportunity she's never had before, the chance to build something resembling a comfortable life if she can prove her worth to his organization. With failure meaning certain death, Kira knows she must immerse herself in the merciless, murderous world of Crimson Dawn. What she doesn't know is just who she will be if she survives.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that. It's going to be good. So this sounds like it's going to take place in that sort of lost bit of time during Solo when she gets left behind. So that's
right.
going to be fun.
That's
interesting.
cool.
There's no mention of who in that publisher's summary, who I imagine is in this book. And just when you thought his story was over,
no,
there's so much more to tell.
It'll never
guys.
be over.
There's always MOAR Maul. There's always more
Perpetual Maul.
More Maul. We are just wait for the clone. Just wait for the clone of Maul coming soon to some series at some point. Complete with actual spider legs, not just mechanical spider legs. You're going to give him real spider legs this time.
Yeah.
So
he'll be quite small.
What's yeah, they'll mess it up.
You're just a wee Maul.
Spider
size. A little spider. Yeah.
You know what? Now I'm on board. But I will say that one of the things that is really interesting is that this does not take place. It sounds like when I saw this announced, I didn't really delve deeper into it. So your reading of the summary is my first exposure to what they're actually covering. I assumed it was going to be Kira's story post Solo. Notice they're still not touching that.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're telling some of the later Crimson Dawn stories in the comics, but the immediate follow-up. So that's just me saying there's still a chance.
So you're telling me there's
still
a chance.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be very happy if they picked up that sort of Solo verse at some point. And we're filling in all this stuff after Return of the Jedi, and I don't know. People love Andor. People love
I think they
Obi-Wan.
Are going to pick up that Solo-verse.
You think they're going to do it?
They're going to pick it up in a Lando series. Is from that's my personal thought.
Yeah.
I think that I've heard inklings that there's a Lando series in the works, and who better than to get Donald Glover reprising that role as Lando?
Yeah,
and sort of continue that story.
I feel like
and you can kind of move away from Han. Honestly, at this point, he's got to just start looking more and more like Harrison Ford, and you'll have to do some Looper prosthetics at some point with Alden Ehrenreich. So I'm like, I almost think branching off to Donald Glover might be more interesting.
Yeah, so. I agree. I also think Han's story is kind of told in a weird way. Like I think the connection between the end of Solo and A New Hope is I know it's still another 10 years in the timeline or another, but it seems pretty obvious kind of where he goes. He may have some, no pun intended, solo adventures or adventures of the Chewie, but in terms of his character development, he seems to be pretty much there.
Yeah. And I mean, they can all sort of cross over, but it'd be, the last one was called Solo. This one could be, Lando through his POV.
Duo.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there. Duo. And then Trio, maybe.
Trio
will be
there you go. That's the third one.
That'll be the one about Kira.
We can move on.
That won't be obscure at all. That will definitely capture the audience base for sure.
Yeah. They'll instantly identify that with Star Wars.
Great commercial appeal.
I think I also sort of tacking onto this. I did read something, and I can't remember where, but in the last couple of months, there was an Alden Ehrenreich quote "Yes, I would love to come back and do another Solo." And recently that it was mentioned. So I hope that happens.
He's been doing some very interesting projects lately and kind of diving into all sorts of B-level films and high art and all types of I wouldn't mind him being a little more sporadic with his career, and he doesn't have to jump back into Star Wars if he wants to, because I feel like it's just getting interesting for him.
Yeah,
I think so. I think he's doing this not weird. It's actually done by a lot of other people, but he was in movies, and obviously he had a career, but then he got this kind of blockbuster movie that underperformed even though it did quite well. But by
a mere $460 million,
and he was quite possibly locked up in contracts surrounding that film, and a possible trilogy or a possible series.
Yeah, he definitely signed a 3-film deal on that. I remember.
Yeah, for sure. Deal. And then he went to an A-list show that was canceled after 1 season. So I feel like he's kind of in that area of like in Hollywood where it's just like, yeah, you got to kind of do these smaller projects and kind of prove your quote unquote worth again. So I'm sure he was happy he'd be like, yeah, I would totally come back to Star Wars if you had me.
Like, could you put yourself in Alden's shoes for a second and like, if that was you, and I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a professional actor. You're thinking about a lot of different things that we all think about, but like as a Star Wars fan, you get to be Han Solo. And you get to do it once, and then there's always this, like, chance that you can do it again. Wouldn't, like, every day you just be, like, trying to stay ready to be Han Solo? And, like, wouldn't you always kind of feel like Han Solo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's also this weird thing, too, because, like, if you're Harrison Ford or Mark Hamill, it's just, like, you can always play those characters, right? Like, you can always come back and play those characters. As Grant was kind of suggesting, there's a limited window for Alden Ehrenreich to play this character, because give him another 5 years and he can't, because then he's Harrison Ford in A New Hope and then it just doesn't work. Then you just go CGI Harrison Ford, right? Like, so I feel bad for him. Like I remember when that movie was announced, and that was our first movie we covered on this podcast that came out like while we were doing the podcast. He was my biggest concern. I think he was everyone's, right? And the one thing I walked out of that movie, sure, was like, he did a great job. Like he really, he did the Chris Pine Kirk thing, right? Embodied the character without doing an impression of the character.
Yeah, really great. I'm hoping
he's a highlight of that film for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we just mentioned other ones too, like Donald Glover and Emilia Clarke. Yeah. But Emilia Clarke's been in a million fantastic things, but that'll always be
it's just
my
like, given that the trajectory, the ending sort of hints at a trajectory of going to meet with Jabba and these early heists with Jabba.
Oh, can you imagine?
It's great. It's great territory, but just given there's so much Hutt exposure in Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, and things like that it's like, I know. I almost think Lando could have more interesting and varied adventures we haven't seen before. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost, I feel like Lando is really opening up a new sandbox for us. So
yeah, because Han probably like lives on
in
Tatooine.
A Lando series. I would love a Solo sequel, but I really, really, really want to. I would take a Lando series before a Solo sequel.
Yeah, I co-sign that. Yeah,
we've talked about that before. I think it makes so much sense to be like, just call it a Lando series, and Han can be as much as you want.
There's one Alden Ehrenreich episode that's like amazing in that series. You know what I mean? Or a 2-parter that's like incredible. You know?
Yeah, and a couple cameos but otherwise you're following Donald Glover, and it'll be great.
Because I love Lando from that film, and I feel like he's sort of sidelined after his injury in that film, and it's like I want to see him bounce back from that, and be a fun character.
I can't even imagine how good that would be with Donald Glover following him for a full film. Like,
so much fun, so stylish, and so just rad.
Yeah, so rad. It'd be so rad. Right on. So that's our news this week. I'm gonna now let's move on to the Bad Batch, shall we?
If you're having clone problems, I feel bad for you, son. I have 99 problems, but the Bad Batch ain't one. Hit me.
All right, we are back with the Bad Batch segment. 99 Problems is what we call it. So we got a double episode this week, y'all, and
woo.
Yeah, woo is right. And I mean, I maybe it just took them 5 episodes to get going, because I was like, they were all good. First 5 episodes were good, but last week, episode 6 blew my space socks off, and then 7 and 8. I mean, it was about as close to Andor as this series has ever got, I think.
That's my first note, is like, now they're just doing Andor.
Like, this is proof to me that they were like, yo, Dave, this is happening, down on Manhattan Beach right now. Like, you need to see this if you're going to be the series that follows it, because this is the precedent that's now set. Because the tone, the music, the intrigue, everything followed that.
Totally. Political intrigue. Even the writing was like just it sort of rivaled Andor in sort of just the Rampart stuff. A lot of the Chuchi confronting Rampart stuff, but also felt like momentous and historic. I mean, this is an area of the canon that we're finally getting illuminated for us by Dave Filoni and his talented crew, and it's so intriguing. Like this is the actual part of the history I really wanted to know, which is sort of how the optics on the clones and sort of how the Empire phases them out, sunsets them, and how they commission this new army, or how they get this new
where does stormtroopers come from? Yeah, which
the
is
stormtrooper program, right?
Yeah.
And interesting. It's almost poetic in that, like, the storms, they as a cover for the destruction of Kamino, they said this giant storm destroyed them, and the episode sort of ends with this fun button of the stormtrooper program, and it's like, it just felt very poetic, and it just felt really, really beautiful two-parter from Dave Filoni.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a summary here as we do. It's a little more detailed. I mean, I tried to keep this short, y'all, and I'm not going to do as good a job as Grant and Adam do. But so because of that, I'm going to play music under my read.
Nice dramatic effect.
Yeah, we just got to set the vibe here. All right, so Bad Batch 7, The Clone Conspiracy, Coruscant. We open with clone trooper Cade, Cade, telling CT-0409, aka Slip, that he needs to reveal the truth about Admiral Rampart's genocide of Kamino. As the discussion moves outside, Cade is summarily assassinated by a sniper in strange armor, but Slip slips away. The story moves us to the Senate floor, where the debate is raging over Admiral Rampart's defense recruitment bill. Rampart's key supporters in creating a new galactic army made up of a conscript military are Agani Raduli and Ishi Teeb of the Intergalactic Banking Clan, and an unnamed Gossam Commerce Guild senator. Arguing against the new military are Senator Tiana Pomlo of Terrace, a lesser-known member of the yet-to-be-formed Rebel Alliance, and seen in Rogue One, Bail Organa of Alderaan, and Senator Rio Chuchi of Pantora. Get ready, I'm going to say the word Chuchi about 1,000 times in 30 seconds. Chuchi's demands for reparations for the clone veterans stall the debate. Chuchi then seeks out clones and Coruscant to get their input on a plan for the future of clones, and is pulled aside by Slip, who reveals the atrocities at Kamino. But Chuchi needs proof, as well as a witness. Bail Organa also points Chuchi in the direction of Rampart's Venator recordings. Chuchi does negotiate a pension plan for the clones with Rampart, because Grand Vizier Masameda is eager to get the defense recruitment bill passed and bury the Kamino genocide, and had his foot firmly placed on Rampart's neck. A race is on to find Slip between Chuchi and Rampart's unknown assassin. Chuchi finds him first, but the assassin soon arrives and kills Slip and Chuchi's 2 security guards, and would have killed Chuchi, but she is saved by a cloaked stranger who turns out to be none other than Captain Rex. Rex unmasks and questions the assassin, who turns out to be a clone himself, but he simply identifies as a believer, and then bites on a suicide sparker in his mouth and dies. And then it plays a song that slaps almost as hard as this one. Yeah. So sorry. That was
Senators, Venators.
Senators
Chuchi.
and Venators.
Incredible.
Yeah, so much Chuchi.
The cyanide,
high-tech cyanide.
Yeah, cyanide sparker. I have a problem. So I write the stuff in notes, and notes keeps auto-correcting everything.
Did we all see that coming? Did you sense that from the beginning of that scene, by the way? Where you're like, he's definitely got a loose tooth. He's jiggling right now.
I thought
we all were like, he's going. He's getting ready.
He's getting ready.
I was like, Rex, reach in that guy's mouth, grab his molar. Yeah. What are you doing?
Grab his molar, Rex.
I was so upset at Rex in that moment.
Yeah,
I know. It's become such a staple of spy things where I'm like, yep, that guy.
It's about to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like all of us could sense it. I don't even need your guys' answer. I know you guys can sense it.
So did you have any ideas about who the assassin was, or any thoughts about it? As there was clearly an assassin.
No,
episode?
I absolutely adore the idea of a faceless clone. I think it's the coolest idea possible. And the idea of another tier of clones that are just these faceless assassins that are built into this dark sort of machination or military industrial complex. It's fascinating. I think Filoni has really tapped into George's sort of fears of sort of fascism and the sort of militant state, police state sort of stuff that he investigated early in his filmmaking career.
Yeah, as much as I said, it was close to Andor, it's still very much a Bad Batch episode, and it has all the best hallmarks of Filoni. He's really flexing. His game is upping and upping. It makes me more and more excited about the Ahsoka series.
Agreed. Yeah.
Can I just tell you
part of me?
Go for it, Adam.
Yeah, go for it. I was gonna say, part of me was wondering if it was gonna be Crosshair, If he had
Same.
which because he was just like, are we now getting to supervillain territory with Crosshair where he's wearing like a costume? Which I was kind of glad when it wasn't. I also had already written in my notes, which I deleted, something along the lines of like, if it's Crosshair and he's missing because he's missing Slip, right? Like he's missing him not hitting him when he's shooting at him at the beginning of the episode. I was just like, well, that guy clearly just has plot armor because Crosshair doesn't miss. So I was glad when it wasn't, because I was just like, all right, it makes sense. This guy's good, but he's not, Crosshair good.
Yeah, Crosshair good.
Also,
he's dead.
I think the first character moment we get with this assassin is they're looking down sights down across.
Yeah.
And you're just like, is this Crosshair?
Yeah, I clearly fell for the bait and switch.
The bait and switch. So I definitely thought that, and then even when he was unmasked, I was like, is this Boba Fett in a like precursor armor?
Ben, that's Ben. I knew you were
right, but I mean, it's like you don't have any identifying markers, and I was like, is that because he's not a clone? He's actually a child. Like,
you're waiting for the Boba Fett Omega.
It's coming. It's coming.
You're waiting for that.
It's the Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's
right there in the names.
Yeah. The Clegane Bowl, the Prince.
We got to be patient, guys. Be patient. It might not happen. Who knows? It might
Season
not
2
be
finale. Calling it. I think I called it as the season 1 finale last year. So every year I'm going to be calling it as the finale.
But it's weird because Boba must be older than her.
Yeah, by a little bit, but that makes sense, right? Because he was kind of. I always thought. Well, because I always thought he was one of the first clones born.
Yeah.
And I think she's one of the last. I guess she wouldn't be one of the last because
how do you do that without genetically altering it? I guess they just we're just not going to genetically alter this one, and then whoops, it's a girl. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really understand.
There's still. That's the thing. There's still questions.
The Kaminoan senator, when she sees Omega, does she recognize Omega? Because Filoni hangs on that shot for like a second longer.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
It was a heavy beat, but I don't think she recognized.
It was a heavy beat. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the beat was to say like, nope, she doesn't recognize her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then when she's like, I'm a clone, that was a big reveal. There. So we're jumping ahead to the next episode now, but yes, that's what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll get there. Yeah, sorry.
The other thing I'll say about this episode is this is now the what episode was this? 7?
7.
So 2 out of the 7 episodes of the season, we have 0 Bad Batch, unless you call Crosshair a Bad Batch, which I don't. He has officially given up his membership card. Which I think is awesome. Like this is weirdly we're talking about like this is like now A-list TV shows will always have in a season. It's like now a cliche.
Yeah.
Where you will have an episode in the season that does not involve any of your main characters.
Right. It's almost.
But I like the Bad
Rex.
Batches.
But bring in Rex.
It's like, yeah.
Well,
but that's what I like about it. Is like they're doing it now too.
Hey, Rex
is
still here. He's the heart.
I feel
like
that's
story.
Filoni's like big posturing with the show is like this is animated, but it's elevated animated, right? Like this is an A-list show. Like this should stand up with the Mandalorian.
This is high art clone commentary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just the clone commentary in this show is unreal.
I know it's such a wild idea, but again, it's like I'm so glad I have this story. It's so like
and just the political intrigue in the show, and that Chuchi we're underselling Chuchi, who I think is.
I'm on the Chuchi Choo Choo.
What a hero!
All aboard.
Did she elevate to like 1 or 2 as your favorite good guy in all of Star Wars?
She's up there,
yeah. Ben, did you text earlier? I'm on the Chuchi Choo Choo in the text because there was before because I watched these episodes like literally half an hour before we were taping because of reasons, and so I read that I was like looking at Grant's text before that and I'm like I don't know what's happening and I'm like but like other things I can like piece together like the memes and the other stuff that Grant sent before I'm like okay like I get this has something to do with the episode but that was so out of left field that I was just like that must be a typo. I'm just gonna not comment. I'm just gonna pretend I'm cool and know what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, it was made clear that you had not seen them and I was like, oh well. I'm still on that train, that Choo Choo, if you will. She's fantastic.
She is great.
Yet another New Zealand accent too, which is always fun.
Omega and Chuchi.
Yeah.
Working together was.
I know.
Awesome.
Actually, I have the
incredible piece of accent work.
Yeah, I'm never tired of listening to the New Zealand accent. I'm trying to think who was Chuchi. Yeah. No, Jennifer Hale. And
Jennifer Hale.
which is not the person that does Omega.
I was wondering about that, but I thought it was someone else. That name sounds familiar, though. Did I ever tell you I have an ear for Australian versus New Zealand accents. I don't know where that came from, and I don't have an ear for accents.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if it's just watching so many like just Lord of the Rings making ofs or whatever.
Jennifer
But
Hale does a lot of voices, like
Yeah.
Avatar.
Grant explained it to me the best way, where it's like sort of like, I mean, you should probably say it, but essentially it's like Australians in the throat and New Zealand's up in the nose.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah,
sinuses.
New Zealand's like in the.
There you
It's
go.
up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
It's really up there.
And Australians
I-
are sort of down in the throat. a bit.
Way down, way lower.
I made New Zealanders a day one time. We were all hanging out as a group, and I was just like, "You from New Zealand?" She goes, "Thank you."
Oh, well, yeah, that is probably that.
That's the thing. If you get it wrong, they will hate you because there is a real rivalry between those two nations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
I
is
don't-
kind
I
of
know nothing,
hilarious.
so
I don't know how
wanna
they take
sound
it serious.
I don't want to even do the accents there. I feel like it's still hard to move on.
I'm fully
I feel
shameless.
I feel like that relationship was really fun. Like I feel like that was a great sort of center to the episode, or to the second episode. The first episode, just meeting Chuchi was, I think, so cool, and just her interactions with Bale, like Bale is back in the story.
Bale's back.
Underselling Bale. Oh.
Yeah. It's good to have him as like an anchor, but then you get like, and then him backing up these people, and then if you're
Palmo is there also.
Yeah, Pomlo of Paris. She's a deeper dive, but she was in Clone Wars and she was in Rogue One. You see her in live action, so that was cool to get that in there too.
Cool connection.
Yes. So I mean, we're back on the Senate floor, guys. How about that?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. We spent a lot.
So
of
the
time
Ishi
in
Tib,
the Senate.
who is his name is Ishi Tib?
No, that's his.
No, that's their species.
Okay. His name is Ghani Raduli. Senator. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, Senator Ghani Raduli. Actually, I don't know if he's a senator because he is a banking clan representative. I don't know if they call them senators. So I'm pretty sure in the galaxy that unions have representatives in the Senate.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
okay.
I guess every point I would assume. I don't know.
Again, dumb American. We don't have.
I think it's like sovereign
systems,
sectors, like the leading planet in their sovereign sector probably. Has a.
I also want to say that like I don't. This is all pieced together,
right? Well, no, because
like,
remember
based on what was needed.
Yeah, I forget which one it was. I think it was Anakin and Obi-Wan when they go to Neimoidia, and then they're like, no, like there's a Neimoidian representative, but there's also a Trade Federation representative that happens to be Neimoidian.
Oh, right. Yeah,
wouldn't there be lots more pods if it really truly did represent the galaxy?
That's one of my actually, if it's a
galaxy,
galaxy, a building would not be able to hold. Yeah, exactly. You can make it look like a lot of pods, but there's probably not enough for a galaxy.
That's why I like how it's almost like sectorized, and it's just.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there's like senators for sectors, or for like, or because we talked about before, like certain planets have like alliances versus some planets are their own. But then you get to like think about I can't think of the fish people.
Mon Calamari.
Mon Calamari, right? Like Kala, like Mon Cala, right? Because they have both the Corn and the Mon Calamari. And it's just like, but it's like, so it gets complicated with these things, and I feel like it's just. I feel like part of it too is like if you think about it, like the Galactic Senate is now enveloping other worlds and sectors that have different governments. So like they have to recognize based on what those governments are. Like I'm sure it's just like if a planet is a sole planet, there's a representative. If a planet is made up of a conglomerate of planets, there's like one person who represents it. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, and there's a lot of planets not representative. Like there's no Tatooine represented. Senator there, probably the whole outer rim isn't represented.
It could be the daimyo, though. He could go there.
Daimyo.
I am Boba.
Yes.
I forgot we're on video. Don't watch the last 3 seconds.
Just try to assassinate the Emperor.
Yeah.
It's like, used to be on
cannon
video.
Just exploded. They're restarting the cannon, guys. It's Rey and Grogu. Like, relax.
Yeah.
Right on. So yeah, Chi-Chi's great. A lot of good action in this one. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of action beats kind of after the Senate.
Yeah.
They're all good. I mean, I really liked the scene where she's like trying to lay out a pension plan for clones by going to one bar on Coruscant and figuring that out.
To 15 clones.
And she's like, yeah, this probably covers it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, honestly, that's probably
voices.
more research than most senators do, but
it's very true.
But that's the way it worked. But it was a cool scene. It was fun. And that's Chuchi's whole vibe. She's just like trying to look out for veterans, which is like awesome. That's a
noble.
Noble.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah. I want to do something really. Here's the requisite. The animation's amazing moment.
All right.
So there's a lot, but during Slip's escape at the very beginning, or when Slip slips away. Well done, Ben. There's an animation of his hat flapping in the wind and almost blowing away, and he catches it and puts it on his head, and it keeps flapping, and it's just one of these moments of just like, oh, now you're just showing off.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't do anything for anything other than just so, like, look what we can do.
It's a
Like,
classic
it just
bit,
looks
though.
so, yeah.
It's
yeah.
like,
It just looks so real. Yeah, it was great. It was a great moment.
Yeah, we
where I'm
should
like,
talk
look at that.
about like all the people getting blasted in the episode. And
Yeah.
just the assassin
In memoriam.
in the armor, just cold-bloodedly killing everyone. They're like political meetings, and then people dying, and
it's all intrigue,
Chuchi following
right?
the money, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's so great. It's such a fantastic story.
Yeah, that was definitely, you felt the thing. I was like, because I'm like, I don't think Chuchi shows up later. So like, does she get smoked right here? I don't know. Maybe, there was like real tension there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was, and I really liked the Pantoran guards. So Chuchi is Pantoran. And yeah, I liked that they had like ceremonial swords.
Yeah, they had great outfits.
Yeah, they were super cool.
And cool.
I think best drip was like those guards.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right. I've got
let's go best drip.
You want to go best drip right now?
Let's
go.
What you got?
I got Rex on this one. I think Rex had the best drip. Like,
really?
Yeah. There were good candidates.
You want that Rex figure with like the sort of like worn, what is it, robes or poncho kind of look?
Actually, it's post poncho. He's got this sort of like blue outfit, and then like it's kind of I don't know. I remember it striking me, and I'm like, we need to bring back best drip because
yeah.
And I've got another best drip quiz for you when we cover the next episode. That's different and specialized. What about you, Adam? What do you think for drip?
Oh, I was there with the guards. Like the guards.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Or it might be the unidentified assassin, unidentified clone.
Really,
assassin.
you like that armor? I give that a B-.
I mean, I'm a comic book nerd,
Okay.
right? And so, like, again, as someone who got really, not the right level of upset about what was her name's garb in Bounty Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like 10 episodes of me raving about the helmet, but like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, my
no,
brain doesn't have that many synapses. Like,
no, I'm not
Wait,
gonna get
the
there.
bounty hunter? You like the assassin?
Vokura.
Vokura. Yeah, no. So I guess no, I would have to go. I do like the guards. We're really, really.
What about the
awesome.
bounty hunter, or like the pivotal assassin, the titular like killer clone?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
That's what he was talking about.
That armor is unreal.
Okay.
I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty great.
I was lukewarm on that armor, but okay.
Really?
Yeah. But I think it was because no color. It was just like dull gray.
It was, but it was very Deadshot like from the comics.
Yeah,
I was also
very,
just like
brooding, dark, like armor.
Yeah.
Batman.
Oh, I just realized the quote I deleted for myself earlier was also like, it's like what Bullseye from Marvel Comics misses. It's for plot reasons and it annoys me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I read that line and I'm like, am I awesome or am I just the worst? Anyway, moving on.
That'll be something to think about for later.
That's gonna keep me up.
I think you're awesome though, for what it's worth.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It was really pedantic.
Right on. So that stuff was great. And yeah. Okay, so what do you think about the Believer? So this is the assassin, but him himself. And
I love the Believer. I think it's such a cool character.
Yeah,
like, it's one of the most mysterious sort of villains you can have. Is just this clone killer who can't be rightly identified. Yeah.
Right. And what I like about it is you don't give him a ton of time. Like, he doesn't have a ton to say. He just basically says, like, one line, and then he's out. And, like, that's the believer, right? Like I think they did that character kind of perfect.
Yeah.
And he's going after Chuchi because she's diving into this sort of this intel that there are holo recordings on Rampart's Venator class cruiser that she can access, steal, and use as evidence in the Senate to bring him down.
Yeah.
And the first part of this episode is all about just acquiring that knowledge, that intel, and then the mission. And then you kind of see like the truth and consequences.
Oh, see what you did there. I'm not going to let you seg that easily, though. I just wanted do you think it's the greatest seg of all time?
It was right there.
Noted.
It was
right there. I could have picked it up. But I did want to ask you
plan.
more about the believers. Do you think there's more than one believer? Is this going to be a thing? The believers?
Yeah, I do. Whenever I see one, I think like the cloning vats. I see all these dark like visions, like dark side. Like Palpatine's planning. He probably has like layers and layers of servants who can do his dark bidding.
Yeah, I mean, are these the ones that have like Order 66 chips on 11?
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just
I mean, this is just Order 6. This is just Order like 72.
They're like other
right,
programs,
like
probably.
Separate programs. I mean, that'd be wild if
Yeah.
that was it. Or if they're like Crosshair, who like now I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like Crosshair is a believer.
Oh, do you want to stay a trooper? How badly do you want to stay a trooper? How badly do you want to follow orders?
Yeah, we have the vision for the Empire will bring peace. Something.
So, are these Crosshair's disciples or lackeys? Like has he started like bringing in clones?
Yeah,
into
he
his
is the
belief
most
system?
Notorious probably of these assassins.
Believer.
Among
is he
them.
the head believer?
I believe
whatever that means.
The belief.
That's a good take.
I love it. All right, why don't we go on to truth and consequences? And once again, here's the Morlana drop.
The Morlana drop.
Do it.
Yes.
Yeah, come on.
Ready. Closing my eyes. Ready.
Okay, great. Here we are. Bad Batch, Episode 8, Truth and Consequences. We begin with the Batch on their home at Pantora, with Omega practicing the meditation techniques she learned from Gungi. She has a nice chat with Echo until a holo transmission from Rex beckons the Batch to Coruscant for a new mission. Rex shows the Batch the dead assassin and explains the situation with the defense bill and needs to expose the atrocities on Kamino. The team splits. Omega and Chuchi go to the Senate floor to meet with Kaminoan Senator, disgraced Senator, I should say, Halle Bertoni, to get her support and testimony about misappropriated funds before the genocide. At their meeting, Chuchi and Omega reveal that it was Rampart who bombed their planet. The rest of the Batch go on a mission to infiltrate Rampart's Venator in dry dock for repairs on Coruscant. The team infiltrates the landed ship and extract the records of genocide and escape to bring proof to the Senate floor just in time. I'm skipping over a lot there. As the Senate is horrified by the recording, the Emperor reveals himself through the floor and declares Rampart a war criminal, but blames the clones for their part as well, which gives validity for his conscript military. Crestfallen, the Bad Batch leave without Echo, who decides to stay with Rex and do as much good for surviving clones as he can. Omega inconsolably hugs Wrecker's Took doll named Lula.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you. I hope that wasn't pithy. These are such dense episodes. Like I realized after I wrote both of these, I'm like, I didn't talk about like Bail Organa at all, and he's a major character in both of these episodes.
It's so hard. Like I remember when I wrote last week's one, I'm like, when I was watching the episode, I'm like, yeah, this will be like 3 lines, and I wrote it. I'm like, this is like 2 paragraphs long.
Right.
It's hard. It's really hard.
We're just setting the scene here, but still, like, just in
but
case.
I think you did a great job of
hopefully it's fresh.
Boiling it down to its main
thing
stuff, and we'll get into all the nitty gritty. But first, before that, I feel like the new segment needs to be Adam talks about his favorite subtitled moment, because I watch these very quietly with subtitles because. Well, today everyone's sick here, and I don't want to wake up anyone.
Got it.
Because it'll make my life much harder if the sick people wake up. But there was in their little like ship with Gonki, there was a subtitle that just said "Gonki honking."
I mean, they couldn't make it Gonki gonking. Okay.
I know, right? Gonki gonking, but Gonki honking was pretty good.
Sounds like
also,
that would top like the Billboard charts.
Gonki honking.
Also. Yeah. Future spoiler.
That would like
I'm
break
gonna be,
number one. I promise.
I'm gonna be in Galaxy's Edge in actually exactly 2 weeks from today.
Perfect.
Actually, right now I'll be coming out of Oga's Cantina, feeling very good when the parks close down, and I may go walk by a gonk droid and make it honk, and then send that all to you all.
Oh,
so we'll see if I
nice.
can make that happen. Yeah,
that'd be nice. Yeah, we're looking forward to a little
intro.
remote.
Our intro should be just several gonk droids.
I can make that happen for you. It's just like gonk, gonk, core world news. And then here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. One gonk meets another gonk.
Rad. Okay, this episode was also amazing. We finally get the batch, so we're back with the batch.
They do not disappoint.
Yeah, I love the meditating Omega. I thought that was actually a really cool scene.
Yeah,
something she picked up from Gunji, so it sort of like connects to the previous episode, and it was cool.
Wait, guys, chance?
We need to circle back some episodes. We put this on the clock. We talked about this idea way, like a long time ago when we first saw Omega and how the Kaminoans were kind of regarding her as this sort of like a superior clone or like the best clone they've ever made.
Clone
or something.
savior, yeah.
Sort of like,
she's the future of the army.
Almost like I felt like Weapon X project, almost like Wolverine or something.
Totally.
I felt like this clone that maybe it might be able to have better instincts or something like that. And then I almost thought, what if she has the Force and the Force proto sort of like Snoke stuff? You know what I mean? Like this is
oh boy, here we go. Lock tinfoils into attack position.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
I had that same thought when
she
was
got a little tinfoily.
The fact that she was meditating.
We used to talk about that a lot.
Yeah. By the way, today is the first day I ever meditated in my life.
Oh, it was, good for you.
It was interesting.
Nice.
Yeah,
good for you.
It was interesting. I definitely felt more like Echo than like Omega, but I'm gonna stick with it. Anyway, but I feel like I just thought that was funny just watching the beginning of this episode. I'm like, I can relate. But I feel like that might be what's going on here, right? Like, you can only go so long in a Star Wars thing without the Force.
Yeah. I mean, it would.
Well, you got to think the Kaminoans were better at cloning than. You ever feel like the Empire maybe doesn't have the sort of like finesse and engineering ability as compared to the Kaminoans? Because I feel like the Kaminoans were just like the clone armor and all that stuff. Like, I also think about the armor. Like, did they create that too? Did they make that, Ben?
I would assume the Kaminoans did. There was someone that did like a really cool infographic thing where they show that like the battle droids are kind of stylized after the Geonosians, and if you look at them in the right way, the clone armor is patterned after the Kaminoans, like sort of anatomically and what's highlighted, and like the shape of their faces, and like
that ends up.
So I'm pretty sure that the Kaminoans did that.
They even printed all the armor too. Then
yes, I think they're a fully
which looks like
3D vendor. Which looks like what? Sorry.
It's like 3D printed polymer.
Yeah.
Legendary.
That's just coincidental.
Prequels are legend for just the clone armor looking so glossy at times.
I know. They never made the armor look like it protected anything. Like it always looks like it got punctured like plastic too.
Like hard plastic.
Yeah.
Plastoid.
Listen, there's no room for conventional, Earth science in Star Wars. We have no idea what the physical properties are there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And
anyways, back to the story.
I've lost my place now, but
they're but the funds. I thought it was so interesting to learn about the funds that were diverted, basically.
Right.
And Chuchi follows the money. What happened there? Brings in that Kaminoan senator, who I thought was so cool. I thought that was one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen. Basically, was sort of the scene with the Kaminoan senator.
I was stoked to see another Kaminoan at all.
Yeah, I love it. I need to see one in live action. I feel like they're harder to pull off with the special effects. I feel like we're gonna get them here, and it's great. But I'm like, come on, next season in Andor, can you just give us a Kaminoan? They're gonna be walking in the background. It's fine.
Well, because the senator even alludes to there being like, I'm sure there's definitely like Kaminoan diaspora like across the galaxy.
Yeah, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, I want to read a note that I made to myself. This is like, I don't tend to edit what I write, and so I want to read this with a comment of how wrong I was.
All right.
When I got to this point. So we get to the point where the Bad Batch is planning their big heist, basically, or their big idea. Yeah. And I wrote, it's hard to get into the Bad Batch's plans, since we know ultimately, in the end, they can't win. And then
never
it
underestimate the Bad Batch.
And then it happened.
And then I was just like,
oh, you need
this is great.
Imperial
Edge of my seat.
clearance?
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, Tech is like, oh wait, you need Imperial
Yeah. And they set
code?
that up like 2 episodes
you need chain
ago,
codes?
right? Yeah.
Specific chain codes?
Exactly.
Chain codes no one ever guessed. I got it. Don't worry about it. Relax.
Chain codes are my thing, bro. I'm Tech. I
Right?
got you.
Like, I live and breathe chain codes. I have a demon dialer. I just slice in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Tech. Yeah.
One of my
unsung hero.
most and least favorite things about myself sometimes is when I go into something arms crossed and they prove me wrong. I hate that I go in arms crossed at things sometimes. I don't like that about myself. But there is this element of just like, it's kind of wonderful when you do that and something proves you wrong.
Yes.
Like to understand, like, oh, I am open. And this is amazing. Because I literally was just like, I loved the first episode. I loved how like dry it was. That's like my favorite thing in the world. And this episode was like all action. I'm like, I don't care. They're gonna fail. Even if they win, it doesn't matter. Like I was so whatever. And then it started. I'm like, this is amazing.
I know. I mean, when they actually pulled it off, I was like, whoa, like stunned. And I mean, that's a good diversion of expectations there, because it's just like, we know where this is going. Like, it's just like, this is where you always get stifled.
Wait, guys.
And they ultimately do in a way, but at least they had that one really good, it was a really fun moment when they were like, oh, look, I have video of the genocide right here. Have some.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was.
Echo, I thought, really stood out in this episode. And you start feeling it basically here, kind of with the team. And then I feel like, and then the end of the episode, they try to get you when he leaves and the music swells.
Yeah. Echo is my favorite character of the season.
He's really cool. His armor is also super cool.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to come back. They're going to have like the Rex and Echo episode at some point, doing some stuff.
I agree. At some point.
And they're definitely going to come back together at the end of the season.
Yeah. I hope so. So let me ask that question, because like, since we're kind of jumping to the end. So like, here's like my annoying, like real world and analytical brain kicking in. Because oftentimes when they write off a character for a show, it's because of contract / actor reasons. Right. So I'm sitting here going,
it's
like,
not that.
Why are they writing him off? Like, it's the same guy, D. Bradley Baker's doing all of the voices, the animations. So I'm like, why is it? And I literally wrote, I wonder why they're writing Echo off. ... Redundancy ? Because we've talked about the redundancy of Echo before, right? With Echo and Tech. But I like your view of like, this is just pulling at the heartstrings. They're going to be reunited, and maybe it's using it to. I'm kind of answering. I asked and answering my own questions, so I feel bad. But I'm going to keep like soapboxing for a second. It's the professor and me jumping out. Sorry, guys. But maybe it's because like at the end of the day, it's important for Omega's character development, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I think they just want to tell a Rex story, but they need like a Bad Batch ambassador to go with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I do agree with you, Adam. I think it's a little redundant, because I think if you're going to use D. Bradley Baker doing all these voices, maybe when he does the like generic clone voice, which is this Tamora Morrison straight up, maybe when he does that, it just represents a new character each episode, and there's all this commentary with like what the clone means to, like, you can do deeper commentary, I think, if it's new people who are just Tamora Morrison and not part of their gang or part of their team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. To me, that's more interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I agree with the redundancy. I think it's like smart to retire that character. I also want the comic book Rex and Echo, like series. Six-parter. That's like
the comic book, a spin-off series, something like.
Yeah. I also want that event series.
I held it up when Ben was doing his his summary, but I'm wearing a Rex T-shirt currently, which just was fortuitous. My wife got it for me for my birthday, so it was just happened to work that way.
Happy birthday.
But the
funny.
mission's so cool with
Yeah.
the Venator ship and like the escape pod and all that stuff. It's the action set piece moments are brilliant.
Yeah.
Did either of you really hope they were just gonna steal it and that was gonna be their new base?
Oh,
like I wanted
steal
to
the
steal the
Venator?
Star
Yeah,
Destroyer.
I wanted them to take it off.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's like,
wait,
take
when
it.
the tech said we're going over or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
like, is that mean
yeah,
we're
they're
going up in the
close.
sky? Like we're gonna go. We're gonna. break
Yeah, they
the-
hit the engines, and I was like, "Oh, are they gonna do the like Colin
Yes.
Trevorrow like bit that he never got a chance to do?"
Right.
And like that's their base as a Venator.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't do it because it's like I don't think you can hide a Venator. Like they're just like too big, and like they don't need a base. They just need the. I mean, they have a ship called the Havoc Marauder. Like there's no ship better than anything
Yeah.
named the Havoc Marauder.
It's a good point, Ben. Like they're trying to
Yeah.
be inconspicuous, and I was just like the 10-year-old in me was just like, steal the ship, take it, and then you're right. You're like, no, they would stand out like a sore thumb riding around.
Yeah,
the
there was like
galaxy,
3 heartbeats
the
where I'm
Star
like, they're
Destroyer.
gonna do it. They're gonna steal that thing, and then I was like, no, they're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
So cool. And then the escape pod. When that's almost the Disney ride I would love to go on. It's just like you just run down a ship, get into an escape pod, and it's like, oh no, the escape pod fails, and like goes like mew, 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 and falls and like hits like the cement and like
Oh my gosh.
All right.
amazing.
So you all, when we all go to Galaxy's Edge, we'll all ride Rise of the Resistance, and like that ride is spectacular because your queue ride, like the queue of it, the line of it is the best part of it. Like once I got into the actual thing, I'm like, this is cool. You're looking around and stuff, but like the fact that you get like you get onto an escape
Okay,
pod.
the spoilers,
you're watching
dude. I
video
haven't
of the
been there
escape
yet.
pod.
I don't want to know. I don't.
This is the last thing. I'll stop there. That's the beginning of that's the line to the ride, being on an escape pod, and then you're walking through everything else before the ride even starts. It's one of the best constructed rides I've ever seen in my life.
You drop, right? Or you land on the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all, and you're sitting there, and I'm sitting there again. The analytical brain of me, and everyone else is amazed. I'm like, this is just the line. Everyone, this is the line. Like,
All right, that's all I've heard. I can't
That's
wait.
hilarious.
I can't wait. I'm excited for you next
Yeah.
next in 2 weeks. That's gonna be a blast.
I'm hoping I'll get onto it. I don't know if I can do another 4-hour line.
You said the
wait. It
line
only
was the
depends
best
if I can
part.
get on
Is
it.
4 hours better than?
Well, there's like 4 hours before you get on the
Okay,
second part of the
all
line.
right.
Like there's 4 hours of just like
Copy
line
that.
outside
Copy
of it.
that.
Anyway, but yeah, well, 3.5. I don't want to be dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
Oy.
this episode was packed with great moments. I love R2D4. I think was the astromech that is employed by Bail Organa. Great droid character. All the Bail stuff, the intrigue, gets her just in time. A lot of action beats. Yeah, and then I mean, but I don't know, the whole episode we're just passing over a lot.
Omega. Wait, can we talk about Omega going to the government district?
Yes, yeah, and having her like mind explode. She's like, "What is a republic? Like, what is a government?"
Right. What is the government? Yeah.
She fights.
Yeah. Why don't clones have representation?
That was
Omega
so
struggled
awesome.
the most
Amazing
through this
idea.
episode. She was like, "Wait, what? This is
Yeah.
how this works? Like, what?" It's disillusioned
Yeah.
instantly.
Chuchi's fighting for clone rights, though. That's so sick.
It's but it's so heartbreaking for Omega because like her entire life was just like sheltered on Camino, right? And then she breaks out of Camino, and then she's with this gang of like she's basically with the A-Team. So it's just like out there helping the helpless, right? And not realizing like I started to really like my brain really went down the rabbit hole with this of just like she didn't realize there's a government, and governments are really important. This is not me saying we shouldn't have governments. I just want to make that clear. But when you start doing these things, injustices start happening on a larger scale. It's kind of inevitable. You can do what you can to minimize them, right? But like once you start looking at humans as groups, things happen. And so to watch her brain open up to the sadness of that, I'm just like, this is amazing. But wait, why are clones have representation? It was just I found it really heartbreaking and amazing, like in a cartoon. Like it was just really something kind of amazing in the middle of this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to think about like the shot to macro, she's just been like person to person, event to event, her whole life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Camino,
exactly.
and that's all. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you're at the top of the pyramid. This is how the whole galaxy is run. you're welcome. Like, take it all in. And she's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I mean that's the important thing. Like my brain keeps like getting to it, and then it keeps rejecting it. But it's just, you're right. Like it's the micro to macro thing, right? Like it's just like she has never seen the need for a government because she's only dealt with small groups of people, right? And then not realizing how large the galaxy is, and that something needs to be there to make everything run, right? It's just fascinating. Yeah.
I also just love the boldness of the Bad Batch to go to the heart of the Empire.
They're like, let's go
and do this mission. Like, it was like the most go do mission of all time.
I mean, that's who they are. Like, they're so OP. Yeah. It's like you forget, like, they cut through through opponents fast as Jedi. They just like do it. Because they're elite, and it's nice when you're like, you can't. This isn't going to be easy, and they're like, no,
was this not the ultimate mission though? This was almost like a Rogue One in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It was like this is gonna. But again, we're really starting a fire here too. We're about to cook with gasoline because we basically get all of this. This entire event, you could argue, was foreseen. All things that transpired were possibly foreseen.
Okay,
we'll talk about that.
I think,
okay, we'll get. Yeah. Because I have thoughts. I have my perennial Palpatine thoughts.
Before we get to the top of the pyramid,
I didn't say it. You said it.
Yeah. Before we get to the top, I wanted to talk about Masameda a little bit because he's a really cool character, and we get lots of Masameda.
This was not shying away from the lore that I think we all love as Star Wars fans. We love the makeup and like all the characters featured in the prequels, all the characters featured in the original trilogy. We love all of the out there swings on creature design and characters and fun new species to explore. And I just love that Masameda gets a ton of screen time, and it's putting an alien at the forefront of the story in a fun way.
And he is elite. We're talking, this is the Emperor's inner circle. I mean, if he showed up in live action in Andor, I would have fainted. I would have just fallen over and passed out.
Yeah.
Just Tony Gilroy dialogue.
I know. I almost did that for Sly Moore, who's also in the inner circle, but not nearly as high up as Masameda. Masameda is like, no. Yeah. She like
Masameda is top tier. Masameda stands next to Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a right hand person.
So he's the best. So it was great to see some of the stuff. I mean, it added a tremendous amount of gravity to this episode. But then, ultimately they played the notes to like introduction of the Emperor masterfully. It was there.
I almost stood up while I was watching it happen. Like, I literally was just
everything
pumped.
from like, all right, so it's like, I mean, I knew it was coming. I was like, because I had seen, this has been spoiled for me. Like, someone mentioned the Emperor on the internet, and it took me 24 hours to watch this TV show. So I knew he was coming, but it didn't take away from it at all, because I was like, all right, here it goes. And then you get the music beats really from the opera first, and then they transform seamlessly into Return of the Jedi. Like that like that theme that I know you love, Grant. So the music beats were perfect.
I said Dark Side to begin the show, so yeah, I do love that.
Love it.
Stuff.
And then Ian McDermott, maybe Ian McDermott's. All right, top 3 Palpatine monologue. I will say number 1 is Return of the Jedi. Number 2 is the opera, and number 3 is this.
Yeah, I might reverse those. Okay. I mean, have you ever heard the tale?
Sorry. I said those out of order. No.
I think it's valid. It's hard not to go Return of the Jedi.
I was almost great, I was worried it was going on too long, because I was like, how are people not like, this guy is shrouded in like dark sorcerer robes and like manipulating us. Like, how are more people like? It's just making everyone look like they're not as like ingenious.
Well,
as
what if they are intimidated, but it's this little voice in their back of the head, and it takes 20 years for them to sort of come together and like. Or not even 20 years.
He could be even using the dark side.
He could. I will say a couple of things. The first is, Grant, you and I went through the exact same phase.
Thank you.
In that I literally had to.
On this? I was worried. I was very scared.
I had to, while it was happening, make it okay that it was happening. And what I came to is 2 things. One, the larger reason is that we're dealing with a galaxy with a lot of weird looking different species. So I wonder if people are just not as attuned to judging people by appearance, right? Because of all the different looking types of species that you don't like equate speech patterns and looks with behaviors.
He's like Greg
But
Abbott.
here's the
He's,
other
So
thing,
why
though.
is injured human
disabled, but he's
it's
still a
strange?
fascist.
Well, but
like,
then-
when
but
there's
that's
so
the-
many
but-
varied people like
But
intelligent life.
but Grant, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I came to is like, remember, all of these people remember the kind and nice Palpatine, right? Like this genial man. And so what what they realize is, based on Naboo, that he's shrouding himself because he doesn't want people to see how disfigured he is.
paradisic world.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's what's coming across. Is
That's
people are
why they
giving
should
him
have
the benefit
played with
of the doubt
that in the
because they
sequels.
remember.
They really should have had like young Matt Smith on a paradisical world and like subverted our expectations.
100%. Where show us the Matt Smith cut.
Sorry. Wow. Let's move on. Sorry. I digress.
Mostly joking. It's
kind of a Core World News inside joke.
Anytime I can work in a Snyder,
weird
anytime I can
podcast.
work in a Snyder cut joke, I try to. Sorry.
Far out.
Yeah.
Um,
But also, please show us the Matt Smith cut, just because I'm fascinated. But it's fine. I'm not gonna like start like a hate campaign to get it to happen.
Don't even call him Palpatine either. He's just this weird dude.
oh man, amazing.
So the big question is, and I think we all are going to come at different places because it's all it ever takes on Palpatine, is that like the Bad Batch come out and going like, we fell right into the plan. It was Palpatine's plan all along, blah, 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 blah. I don't agree with that at all. I think this is Palpatine proving that Palpatine is the greatest because he just rolls with it.
He can pivot.
It can make it all work.
Yeah,
which I think
thought
makes
the
him
same
more
thing. I was like,
evil.
Oh, this is just a huge pivot on Sheev's part.
Yeah.
Even when I lose,
I
win.
But he had prepared for that. Like,
Yeah.
there are tiers and tiers. It's like a pyramid scheme. He has a setup, so there's always a fall guy. He's never going to get... I mean, if he needs to throw Masameda under a bus, he will throw Masameda under a bus.
Yeah. Masameda's next. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had this speech already written. He had 20 different speeches written, depending on how this went.
And the Force told him to
He's
be
like, all right,
there,
this is
and he
speech
was like,
18.
okay, I'm just going to say this, and I win again. Yeah, it's funny. It was a choice by Filoni to be like, have Rex be like, oh, he's always a step ahead of us, and like, because I was like, oh, I'm like, wow, that's oddly prescient.
That makes no sense to me.
Like Rex, like really taking in the full scope and the, view of what the Jedi would think at that point. It was, it was a choice, but
Palpatine also seeded this like air of suspicion. He was like, "Oh, now that Rampart is clearly a traitor, there's likely more like among us." And I was like, "Oh, this is great." Now he's just going to create confusion and like
panic.
disorder.
People will be dying to like plead his case. I mean, there's a lot of room for him to really go into. I mean, there's still a democratic republic right now.
Where is
it's going to turn into pure fascism.
Does he still attend? Does he still attend events and things like that? Does he go?
Doesn't sound like he does that much. He doesn't even show up on the Senate floor.
No,
much.
it sounds like he's never at the Senate floor, and it's kind of expected. Like it also, based on their reaction, it seemed like it's a grand occasion when Palpatine shows up. Like it's serious. It's a big deal. And I just like, it's so, that speech was so good because it was one of those speeches where I'm like, I was just like, oh, why is he showing up? It makes sense that he's showing up. All right, this is just like for dramatic effect. And then the second he started talking, I'm like, oh, he's totally going to blame this on the clones. He's going to blame it on the and then he did. And it was just such a brilliant moment.
Yeah.
Just like, yep.
He didn't even have to try that hard with the clones. He just had to say like, oh, wow, this disaster. There were clones on board, therefore clones. And like, that's all he needs to like, to stop serving the clones. Though I think the pension package still passed. That was part of the bill, so
maybe I guess they're all just like decommissioned, but they have a pension.
That's
which,
something,
good for them. But like, hey, having a leader that kind of like targets the other and makes them seem inhuman, and the way we can all put our faults and disgraces. That doesn't ring any bells. I don't think that ever happened before. That just seems like fantasy. That's not history. That's just never happened. Nope.
Don't worry about it.
There's a lot of little lessons here, I feel like, for the kids, and be like, this is disinformation. This is how the government works.
Yeah.
This is how fascism happens. This is like, they're like, when you tell the truth and you're doing the right thing, you can still lose. This is how that happens.
Yeah. it's one of those moments where I'm like, I didn't wish Padme to be dead, but to think of her like this is how democracy ends with thunderous applause. I'm like, yeah, she was just
Rampart's
like, she's just like, I didn't have to
diversion
see
of
that.
funds. He was like, it wasn't a misappropriation. It was
redisbursement.
It was a redistribution. It was a redistribution, and I was just like,
talk.
I was like, it was a total like use of to destroy things and kill and do terrible things, and you spent it.
Yeah,
it happened, and it's just so dark and just really like pay attention to politics is kind of what you get out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other specific notes or thoughts about this episode? Because I have kind of overarching question.
I have one. Well, I have an overarching question too.
Before best drip,
it is
go for it.
All right, and I've been meaning to
Palpatine,
ask
moving
this
on.
since I think like the second or third episode. Who is the swaggiest Bad Batch member with the armor? Who has the best armor?
Oh,
Tech. I mean, easy Tech immediately. I could say that instantaneously. Right. That armor is unreal. It's the only one I own. Like the
it
figure.
Is very
it's
cool.
Like,
it is very cool.
Yeah,
I mean they're all cool. They're all very good.
Yeah, Ben, what's your answer? I'll give you because my answer is gonna be boring. But go ahead.
Echo. I think Echo looks amazing.
Echo's pretty great.
This season.
Yeah,
like the way his helmet looks
with the Lobot sort of like metal piece that like the helmet actually has that like empty.
Yeah, but like when he puts his helmet on, his armor it looks amazing. I don't know. It is the best lines I think on the mask. It just looks it's stunning, and that's the one I can never get over.
Yeah, I was gonna say Echo as well, just because. And here's why my answer is boring: is because I don't notice things, like weirdly, and so when you asked that question, I was just like, could I could probably pick them out of a lineup based on their body types, and I definitely know what Tex looks like. But Echo is the one I always notice. Does that make sense? And I think to me it's like usually if I know something, it's because it's either really really bad or really really good.
All right, I think you guys might be winning this in terms of like
we do know it's a
competition. Any fans or listeners out there, and there's a fan debate happening or a listener debate. I feel like they might side with you because I feel like Echo it's just more iconic and it's also just minimalist, whereas like Tech is very maximalist. It has like he has goggles,
huge headphones like this size.
Like, get it out.
He has glasses and goggles that go over his glasses.
It's true.
It's a lot. He's extra.
It's a lot. He's extra for sure.
A lot.
I will say.
So you guys might win because in terms of.
But it's also like over like a scout trooper mask, which is like the coolest one of the coolest designs. Yeah.
And I will say it's like character appropriate, right? You expect Tech to have all the tech, right? So it makes sense. Yeah.
Tech.
Nerdcore helmet. It's great.
It should be like it really is not. It's so funny that for me it should be Tech. Like that's
to me that's a big swing. Honestly, to me that's like here's a huge new design almost, which is almost Biker Scout, but a lot added to it.
Honorable mention to Hunter. He actually has really great armor as well.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Wrecker either. Like he might. I mean, I love him. He's just a big teddy bear.
I like Wrecker's character,
but
Wrecker's my second favorite.
He's just such a classic heavy. I'm like, okay,
he's just a tank. He's great.
Yeah,
they give him some. Yeah, they give him some.
I don't see him in his helmet enough anymore.
No,
he
not
doesn't
a lot
even wear his helmet.
He wore it in this episode. Yeah, with the like big fat skull on the front of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my kind of we are now. This is the halfway point of the season. Episode 8 of 16. Right. Like this is kind of this would be the mid-season finale if there were mid-season finales, which there aren't. Like this is where you normally go on your like month break, but this is not. We're just plowing through, which is great. I have two questions in there. I'll ask them both at once because you can kind of build off of it. General thoughts about where the season's going, and also I just want to remind us of. I'm not going to read all of the names of the episodes. I just want to read the name of the season finale episode, which is Plan 99. Okay. So, any thoughts now that we're kind of halfway through? We see what's developing. Where do you think we might be going with this season?
You want to go first, Grant, or do you want? You're good.
Again, the season starts with Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah.
Or Caleb Doom. And I feel like, and Deepa Balaba. And that's I think that's kind of telling of where this is all going, basically, is that now that Omega's meditating and has met Gungi, she's like more connected to the Jedi, and they'll eventually meet a contingent of Jedi survivors, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quite
that seems safe.
And then redeem like the sort of Order 66, like killing them all. What the clones did was kill the Jedi. That was the sole like issue. That was the sole sort of like tragedy of their story, is that they just had to kill their beloved, mentors and generals.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I am going to quote like the theory that you had from a long time ago. I think from the beginning of the season, where you've been saying this is the demise of the clones, and that's kind of what we're watching. So I think that's definitely still in play. We could just be seeing the ultimate finale of the clones. But I like that Rex is in here at this point, and Cody is still out there. So I think, now that we've got this rogue element with Echo, who has been a standout all season, just like the moral center of the batch, I think we're going to see a lot more wayward clones. Yeah. That are in trouble, because it's like Rex isn't trying to save all the clones. He's trying to save the ones that know too much, I think was how he described them. Yeah, the ones that are not awakening. I can't remember. He used a phrase that I really struck me at the moment, but I can't remember it. But like clearly people have like have shaken off like Order 66 and have realized what that meant, right? What that meant. And I think you and I are kind of very close in what we're thinking, because like Order 66 is different than Plan 99, right? I mean, 99 is like the inverse of 66, like mirror image. So I think it's very poetic that they're doing it. But a plan means like generally like it's thought out. It's not an order, right? And it could be, to me, that's just to finish it. I think that's a jumping off point. And Plan 99 could mean anything. I think that's sort of like, I think that has more to do with season 3 than what happens in this season. I think you're right. I think this is Rex's Rex's and Echo's reunion with the Bad Batch, and that they've devised a plan to rescue these clones, right? I think that's the plan. Because they still need an identity, right? Like they're just like kind of these wayward bounty hunters that kind of do nice things when they can right now, but like they need a mission to sort of focus them towards helping a burgeoning rebellion. So they're saving clones. Well, no. What are they saving clones? Is this a marriage being hunted down? Are the clones rapidly aging and like sort of deteriorating? Is this a marriage between what you were saying, Grant, and what we're saying? Because is the Plan 99? Yeah, I believe so. Is it the plan? It is. Because Order 66 was to wipe out all the Jedi. Is Plan 99 the awakened clones saving Jedi? Oh, yes. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's like a reversal. You guys where it's are like smart. Now protect Jedi. We'll see. It'll be something completely different, but that makes a lot of sense, though, right? That's like how it. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, well, they're sort of like reparations isn't the right word, but they're just trying to, make up for the wrongs that they've done, and but you just put it like that's the mirror image, right? Like that's it. It's like, no, we are clones that are saving Jedi. Let's go. And that would be a fun story. It would be a fun place to go, because then you start seeing all these Jedi in all these weird locations, and like you could do vignettes with like you're a different, trying to bring in another Jedi. I mean, I don't know. You can't really. Well, could it not just be like a few Jedi surviving and like the path kind of, but this like, I don't know, something similar to what Cal Kestis is doing in the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order games, like, but just a different maybe group or something. Gungi's out there. Are there others out there? Like the way we've been meeting them has felt so organic and sort of fresh and new and interesting. It hasn't really evoked Fallen Order at all, or like evoked sort of like the game, the other stories that sort of coincide. Well, that's the question you need to answer is like, what? So once you've gathered these Jedi, what do you do with them? What are they doing? Right. Yeah, they're not going to be a new Jedi Order. They're not going to start, a new thing. They don't just go to the proverbial farm and retire. Like, like what do you do with them once you've gathered these Jedi? Yeah.
No, I don't know. But I wonder if part of this is related to if Omega is force sensitive, as Grant and I are maybe thinking, right? Like if that starts
Keep
awakening
going,
in
guys.
her,
Never stop. Never change.
If that starts awakening in her, right? Isn't there a moment of just like of them realizing like, because they're not thinking about Jedi right now.
Why does Hunter at the beginning of this episode say like, or Omega's like I tried meditating, but it's not like Gunji, and he's like, and he's different from me, and he's like, and Hunter's like, yeah, because he's a Jedi, he's not like you or whatever, and I was just like, why would you even have that beat?
That's a line.
Unless
you don't need to write that line.
You're gonna subvert.
I think for you
two,
just to like tease it, just to
do this,
make you think about it. Yeah, just
really
make you think about it.
To get like a half an hour of content on a podcast. So
literally,
here's the thing: is just like, but let's say she is, for argument's sake, force sensitive, and this happens. Like from the Bad Batch's perspective, they haven't thought about a Jedi in forever because in their mind, the Jedi are pretty much gone, other than finding Gunji, right? Like that, or that's the first time that they thought about it, and then to have one on their ship. Right, and to have her.
What if one of them could be a Jedi, though? All right. Isn't it Omega?
Yeah. But that's the thing. If she's the Jedi, now they're living with someone who's reminding them, like, these are my all these people that I would have a connection with.
Right.
Your people wiped out. Like,
right.
What are we gonna do about this?
She gets so emotional at the end of this episode when Echo leaves. I was.
Me too.
Yeah.
She was meditating and feeling in peace in the beginning, and then at the end, she's just clutching a doll and just is destroyed.
Yeah,
it was heart wrenching.
This season is rough with that because they have aged her up psychologically, like emotionally. Like I don't think much time has happened, but they really are doing this like she's adultified, tragedy. Right? Like we get that like because of this. And then every time they remind us that she is still just a kid, like when she's clutching a doll, is really hard. It's really hard to watch and realize, like, yeah, and she's surrounded by like really great people, but people have no idea what it's like to be around a kid and what a kid needs.
I know.
Hard.
She's like, it's me and my 5 dads.
The dark themes, her world, her home destroyed, and then talking to the senator and being like, you don't care about like your people, your own people.
Talk.
Yeah.
I was like, this Omega.
She's all of us being
serving up the real.
Yeah. She's a fantastic character, and everything you're saying makes sense.
She's actually growing to be an incredible character.
Like, I just can't believe
characters ever. It's almost like Luke vibes. Like it's almost like I want to watch this character, like mainline this character.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's like another. It's like it's turning into another Grogu, in that it's just like. She's so young at the beginning of the Galactic War, like Civil War. Like, what is her story? Like, is she around in the in the rebellion, post-rebellion? Like, it's so, well, it's hard. Yeah,
Grogu.
Right. Where do they go? Where are they? Why are they there? Those are all questions that start popping up. I don't know. You guys you make a compelling thing because, like, if she was a Jedi, that would be the ultimate Project X for the Kaminoans, right?
Yeah,
like we've cloned Jedi.
Right.
Like that is the holy grail of the galaxy.
The holy grail, basically.
And it ties into the sequel trilogy and the Mandalorian verse, because then if somehow Palpatine becomes aware, that might be a moment of just like, wait, you can clone the Force? Like you can that might be like Omega might be the reason why he realizes he can do this.
You know what? The beat I like even better than that is he doesn't know they can do it, and they can do it, and he eliminated them, and like that could have been his like road to easy street, but like because he destroyed them, like he went through all these other arcane like magics.
That's what this is
couldn't
about.
Really do it.
Isn't that what this is?
Or he wipes them all out and then finds out that you could.
She slipped through the cracks with this team.
Yeah, I mean that would be a huge win actually, and maybe that's just it. She just rides off into the sunset, being the key that Palpatine needed, and he just through his own arrogance, like that's kind of fun.
And every single moment he's on that jib arm, that's all he thinks about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, if I just kept the Kaminoans, I would be walking around, ruin the galaxy.
Yeah,
happy as pie.
No, a narcissist like that like never thinks about that. It's just always like, I made all the right decisions.
All according to my plan.
Yes, perfect. Yep. This is like move my jib arm that way a little. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. This is Star Wars. It's great.
It sure is. Yeah.
My boy.
Rad. All right, did we do it? Anything? Any other theories there? I love that, Adam. Thank you for bringing those up.
I got nothing. That's it. I think I'm out. I'm out of ideas.
That's it.
Okay.
Great
Yeah,
episode.
always fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, Bad Batch. It did make me think, like, can we just do 2 episodes at a time all the time? You know, like, give me an hour of Bad Batch. I'm down. It's like I don't know. I love it. It would change up his storytelling a bit, and all of like Star Wars storytelling, where it's like 37 to 48 minutes, you know, like is like an episode, and it's like give me an hour,
guys. I have a.
It would also mean no overlap between that and Mando. Yeah. What's that? Grant?
I have a fun question to pose for you guys. What in your mind could be the next Dave Filoni series after Bad Batch?
There's so many funny answers to this
just
question.
Like a sort of commercially, utterly separate, a new sort of IP.
I don't think he can do utterly set. All right, I'll do it because that's a question.
But if he doesn't do it, just imagine the continuation of what he would have done, what he would do. You know what I mean? Like even if he moves to live action, does like just a lot more.
Like utterly separate from all the characters he's worked with so far, or just the ones he's created.
What would that story be? Like, where would he go next? Where do you think the next Dave Filoni series could be, or what could it be? Where could it go?
Dude, it's hard because like I feel like they gave him scraps, and he made a like beautiful buffet. You know, like he's like, you can deal with just the clones and what their aftermath was, and maybe the creation of stormtroopers, which is like not a huge story, and he's turned it into a really beautiful.
It's amazing
thing.
2 seasons.
Well, what's great about this
episode
area of the timeline, I think. What's great about this area of the timeline is he gets to support Mandoverse with some of the lore that's sort of generated here with the clones, right? The Bad Batch. That's why he's still clinging to the cloning, because the cloning is about to come back. I think, in Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we're diving into Mandalore, and there's different sects of Mandalorians and things like that, but there's still a big cloning.
It's a good point
through the story.
Like because
Dr. Pershing's is like flying around in a speeder, and
he sure is.
For Mando season.
And if we know anything about Dave Filoni, is like he loves to reuse characters or like in multiple settings. Like it is wildly, inane of us not to think what's happening in Bad Batch will not inform or relate to what's happening in Mando and Ahsoka.
Right. And I mean, Lucasfilm is doing and that's one of my favorite things. Everything is synergized, right? Like he can't help but do that, probably because there's some commands. I think it'd be a really esoteric Legends character that he would bring to life. I think that's what he would do. And I don't know what his tastes are, and I don't have any anything that's coming to mind, interviews with him. But he should come on the show, and we should talk to him about this. Who was his favorite ones? But it's like the fact that he pulled Chuchi, right? Like that shows he has this breadth of knowledge for Legends and a love of Legends, and it would be like someone, and from some time, I mean, he can't do Mandalore, right? He's sort of backfilled that enough. It has to be different than that. But something else, maybe a Sith story? Like
maybe. Ooh, a dark side story would be
dark
good.
Side story.
Here's maybe that's what he does. Because here's the thing, like, all right, we talked about Tales of the Jedi and kind of the stumbles that were in that 6-part series, but there's something there of like I almost want him to go back in time, which is usually not my recommendation for Star Wars, but I really like one of my favorite eras when I was going through my old EU reading list was like the era right before Episode 1. Like, what was it like right then, like right before Palpatine's rise? And like, maybe there's something there. And then if you tie it into the dark side of also just like, what's going on behind the scenes with like Sidious and, I can't think of his emperor, no, I was gonna say, what was his
Sith Bith?
Plagueis.
Oh, Plagueis.
The Sith Bith, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's the Munilist Bith, but yeah.
The Munilist.
Tenebrous
and maybe
is the
tell
Sith
that's Tenebrous is the Sith Bith, and then you got the Munilist, But like maybe tell that story in the background, right? Like maybe that's what you do with him.
Yeah, you're talking about that Plagueis novel, which is elite. elite. That's, I mean, if you're going to cover that thing, like if you're going to, retcon the Plagueis novel, you gotta come correct. But I think Filoni is bold enough.
Yeah.
And he loves that thing. Yeah. Like, I think he could do that,
What if you just did like sort of like the entire like plan and hashings of the Emperor and Dooku, but like as a series,
that would be great. To kind of like do here's the background, what was happening.
I know,
right? Similar to like bring it back to the beginning of the episode of like, what was Kira doing during Solo, right? Like, what was Palpatine doing? What was Palpatine and Dooku doing?
Kira is a virtuous character, and Dooku is a pseudo virtuous, and Palpatine is pure evil, right? So I mean, I would watch it, but I feel like as a writer, that's a tough line to balance on.
What if Ahsoka and Mandoverse can kind of line up where it leaves him with the ability to tell an animated story with Ahsoka and like Sabine? It's just like that continues from Rebels basically, but like he's done a live action chunk between. You know what I mean?
That'd be great.
I wouldn't call that a departure. I mean, that's right in his wheelhouse, I mean, the answer might be right in front of us. I think it might be Thrawn, right? Like if he's going to adopt a legend story. I mean, we're definitely going to be introduced to Thrawn, so maybe he would do that.
Well, that'll be live action. That'll all be live action, I think.
Yeah. Or were you talking about specifically animated? Because that does change things a little bit. You can do wild stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking animated just to keep these animation studios
that's the thing is I think
doing
as
great
much as
the lighting again, the visuals.
I think Filoni is an animator at heart, and I think no matter how much, because even in this show, The Bad Batch, like it's just created by Dave Filoni. Like he hasn't written or directed many of these episodes at all. I think he's just the showrunner on it. But I think he's such an animator at heart. Like I think one of his big things, I haven't seen it anywhere else, but my guess is he's just like, even if I'm off doing movies and TV shows, there will always be an animated show about Star Wars going. I have a feeling that's his like edict with this of like, you can have me, but we're always going to have an animation going at some point.
Yeah.
I think he fully believes in that.
Yeah. That sounds the way it's going. I mean, I really, just even based off that last title, I really think there's going to be a season 3.
Yeah, I think for sure.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Omega, the story Omega is the next series.
I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to pull it off, right? Like,
Star Wars Omega.
Yeah, and her like journey through the galaxy.
There you go. It's perfect. Yeah.
As a burgeoning Force sensitive.
Yeah. After the Bad Batch has completely died.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like if you're not a proponent of that,
I'm not saying I'm not a proponent. I just don't think they're bold enough to do that. I think it sounds a little jumping the shark to me. Jumping the shark.
I don't know.
It's like, oh yeah, and then you're a Jedi.
Why does it just take to meditating?
Listen, it makes sense.
I just want to try meditating. I was like, what?
I've been meditating all week, Grant. I don't know. You got to catch up on the meditating. This is
it's pretty great.
I mean, I meditate too. I've done quite a bit of meditating, but I mean, kids just have a ton of.
They
energy.
really do. So here's what I thought is just like I hear you, Ben, about jumping the shark, but like I will always remember when I was on a plane watching episode 1 of The Mandalorian, and it ends with a baby Yoda. Like, if you could do a baby Yoda,
okay,
and make it like work, there's no jumping the shark in Star Wars. Because that should have killed it. That should have killed Star Wars.
But it didn't. It opened it up because it was tastefully done. That's the thing. You can't. Yeah, I can't foresee these things because I'm not smart enough to like imagine it tastefully done.
I don't want her like wielding a lightsaber necessarily or like throwing rocks around, but like realizing there's a connection to the Force, being Force sensitive in some way. Like it doesn't have to be like full Jedi,
like a minor way, but not like fully Jedi. That would be actually
maybe has a vision or something,
right?
Because
we always see the best of the best Jedi, but it's like we know there are like lesser Jedi, and their stories could be really interesting because of that. Their limitations,
especially in a galaxy where there's not Jedi to train her, right? Like what happens to a Force sensitive who doesn't have training?
They can't all find Luke Skywalker, right?
No, but maybe she does.
Well,
there's lots of people on that.
Luke Skywalker is
planet.
Like not born yet, I think. Oh wait, yes, he definitely is.
Yeah, but he's maybe she finds out when she's older. When she's older, yeah.
That would be. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like they pen themselves in with that comic book with Ben Solo, because it looks like kind of everyone dies, But it's like there was a lot of opportunities. Like if they're like, oh no, then they all scattered. There could have been a lot of interesting Jedi there that they could have like sort of just been like, oh yeah, and that
people
person
are on
there,
missions.
and that person was there, and yeah. All right. You know what? This has been a really long podcast, but we got a double episode this week, so that was super fun.
Yeah. We got a double episode, so you got a double episode.
I know, right? It was really fun. It's always fun. We're going to keep doing this, and someday we're going to tell people that we're streaming, and maybe they'll show up.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll show up anyways. I don't know. I haven't even been looking. But
I mean, we had both the Jasons show up, which was fun.
Oh,
so.
really?
Oh,
Both
wow.
Jasons?
Yeah.
Hey, Jasons, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll talk to everyone next week. Take care. Look out there, and may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.